There is something remarkable about a single day. We often underestimate it because we compare it to a lifetime. We look at all the goals we haven't achieved, all the habits we haven't built, all the dreams that still feel far away, and we convince ourselves that one day can't possibly make a difference. But think about it carefully. Every great accomplishment you've ever admired began on an ordinary day. Someone decided that enough was enough. Someone woke up and chose to act differently. The calendar didn't announce that it was a special date. The weather wasn't perfect. The circumstances weren't ideal. The only thing that changed was a decision. That's where every transformation begins, not with dramatic events, but with a simple commitment. You don't have to fix your entire life today. You only have to win today. Many people postpone change because they're waiting for the right moment. They say, I'll start on Monday. I'll begin next month. I'll get serious when life slows down. But life has a funny way of staying busy. There will always be another reason to wait, another obstacle to point at, another excuse that sounds reasonable. If you spend your life waiting for perfect conditions, you'll discover that perfection never arrives. Progress belongs to the people who begin before everything is in place. The beautiful thing about today is that it asks very little from you. It doesn't ask you to become perfect overnight. It doesn't expect you to erase years of mistakes in a few hours. It simply asks one question: what choice will you make right now? Because life isn't changed by giant leaps nearly as often as it's changed by small decisions made consistently. Think about the direction of a ship crossing the ocean. Move the steering wheel just a few degrees, and at first it doesn't seem like much has happened. The water looks the same. The sky looks the same. Everything appears unchanged. But keep moving in that new direction long enough, and you'll reach an entirely different destination. That's exactly how your life works. One decision today may seem small, but it changes the direction of tomorrow. Perhaps you've made mistakes. Perhaps you've wasted time. Maybe you've quit on yourself more times than you'd like to admit. Let me remind you of something important. Your past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. You can learn from yesterday without living there. The fact that yesterday didn't go well doesn't mean today has to follow the same script. Too many people carry yesterday into today like a heavy backpack. They wake up already defeated because they're replaying old failures. They assume tomorrow will look exactly like yesterday because that's what they're used to seeing. But your future isn't created by your memories. It's created by your decisions. The moment you choose differently, you interrupt the pattern that has been holding you back. Imagine waking up tomorrow after giving this day everything you've got. You planned your time. You kept your promises to yourself. You learned something valuable. You moved your body. You treated people with respect. You completed the important task you've been avoiding. Will your entire life be perfect? Of course not. But something incredibly valuable will have happened. You'll have proven something to yourself. You'll have evidence that you're capable of keeping your word. Confidence doesn't magically appear. It grows every time you do what you said you were going to do. That's why today matters so much. It gives you the opportunity to rebuild trust with yourself. And once you trust yourself, everything else begins to change. You don't need to know every step of the journey before taking the first one. Most successful people didn't have every answer when they started. They simply refused to let uncertainty become an excuse for inaction. They understood that clarity often comes after movement, not before it. Action has a way of revealing opportunities that thinking alone never will. So don't measure today by how much of the mountain you climb. Measure it by whether you took the next step. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's finish. Compare today's version of yourself to yesterday's version. If you've improved even a little, you're already moving in the right direction. And here's another truth worth remembering. Every day you delay the life you want, you're strengthening the habits you don't want. Every day you choose action, you're strengthening the person you're becoming. That's why this one day matters so much. It is not just another page on the calendar. It is a vote for the future you're creating. As we continue this journey together, you'll discover that improving your life isn't about one massive breakthrough. It's about making a series of intentional choices, one after another, beginning with the decision that today will not be wasted. Chant your day, and you begin to change your destiny. Now that you've made the decision that today can become a turning point, the next step is just as important. Before you focus on building new habits, you must first take an honest look at the habits that have quietly been stealing your potential. You can't expect to fill your life with success if it's already crowded with behaviors that drain your energy, your focus, and your confidence. Improvement isn't only about adding more good things. Sometimes it's about removing the things that no longer belong. Most people think success is complicated. They search for secret formulas, special techniques, or shortcuts that promise quick results. But often, success begins with subtraction. Remove one bad habit, and you've created room for one good habit to grow. Eliminate one excuse, and you've opened the door to one meaningful action. Every unnecessary burden you let go of makes it easier to move forward. Take a moment and ask yourself an honest question. What has been costing you the most? Is it procrastination? Is it spending hours doing things that leave you with nothing to show for your day? Is it constantly checking your phone instead of focusing on your goals? Is it negative thinking that convinces you you're not capable before you've even tried? Or maybe it's the habit of making promises to yourself and then breaking them. Whatever it is, identify it. You cannot conquer an enemy you refuse to recognize. Here's something worth remembering. Your habits don't announce themselves as dangerous. They arrive quietly. They ask for just a few extra minutes, just one more episode, just one more scroll, just one more excuse. Individually, they seem harmless, but repeated day after day, they become the architects of an average life. It's rarely one big mistake that holds people back. It's the accumulation of small, repeated choices. Think about a tiny leak in a water tank. One drop doesn't seem important. You might ignore it because it appears insignificant. But leave it untouched long enough, and eventually the tank is empty. The same thing happens with your potential. A few wasted minutes each day may not seem like much, but over months and years, they become lost opportunities, unfinished dreams, and untapped abilities. The challenge is that bad habits often provide immediate comfort while charging a very expensive price later. They feel easy in the moment. That's why they're attractive. Discipline asks for effort today and rewards you tomorrow. Poor habits reward you today and collect the payment tomorrow. One leads to freedom, the other leads to regret. Every day you choose which bill you're willing to pay. Don't misunderstand this. The goal isn't to become perfect overnight. Nobody changes every habit in a single day. If you try to fix everything at once, you'll likely become overwhelmed and give up. Instead, focus on one habit that's causing the greatest damage. If you remove just one obstacle, you'll notice how much easier it becomes to make progress in other areas of your life. Maybe today you decide to stop complaining. Every complaint consumes energy that could have been invested in finding a solution. Maybe today you decide to stop blaming circumstances. The moment you stop blaming, you start taking ownership. And ownership is where personal power begins. You may not control every situation, but you always control your response. That's where your greatest strength lives. Pay attention to the people you spend time with as well. Habits are contagious. Attitudes spread. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, excuses, and low expectations, sooner or later those ideas begin to sound normal. But when you spend time around people who value discipline, learning, growth, and responsibility, you'll find yourself raising your own standards. Your environment has a powerful influence on your future. Choose it carefully. It's also important to recognize that your identity is not your habits. Too many people say, "I'm just lazy," or "I've always been disorganized," or "That's just who I am." No, those are behaviors, not identities. Behaviors can change. The moment you decide to act differently, you're proving that your future is not imprisoned by your past. Don't label yourself by yesterday's choices. Define yourself by today's decisions. Every time you resist a distraction, you strengthen your focus. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your character. Every time you replace an excuse with action, you build confidence that no one can take away. These victories may seem small, but they're creating a new foundation beneath your life. Remember, success is rarely about doing extraordinary things once. It's about refusing to keep doing the ordinary things that quietly destroy your potential. Remove what weakens you, and you'll discover strength that was already there. Clear away the unnecessary, and what truly matters becomes easier to see. This one day is your opportunity to stop feeding the habits that have been holding you back. Let them end here. Let today be remembered as the day you stopped making excuses for the life you wanted and started making decisions worthy of it. Because the moment you remove what's stealing your potential, you make room for the person you were always capable of becoming. Starve your excuses, and your potential will finally have room to grow. Once you've decided that today matters and you've started clearing away the habits that have been holding you back, the next step is to replace empty routines with purposeful ones. Nature doesn't like a vacuum, and neither does your life. If you remove a bad habit without replacing it with a better one, the old pattern has a way of finding its way back. That's why building a daily routine isn't about making your life rigid. It's about giving your goals a reliable path to follow. Think about the people who consistently achieve meaningful success. They don't wake up every morning wondering if they feel motivated enough to work toward their dreams. They have routines that carry them forward even when motivation is nowhere to be found. That's the real power of a routine. It removes unnecessary decisions and replaces uncertainty with direction. Every morning gives you a fresh opportunity to decide what kind of person you're going to be. Before the world begins making demands on your time, take a few moments to make a commitment to yourself. You don't need an elaborate schedule filled with dozens of complicated tasks. In fact, the simpler your routine, the more likely you are to follow it. Success is rarely built on complexity. It's built on consistency. Start your day with purpose instead of reaction. Too many people begin their mornings by immediately reaching for distractions. Before they've even had a chance to think about their own priorities, they're already consumed by someone else's agenda. The day begins controlling them instead of them controlling the day. If you want different results, you must begin differently. Take a few quiet minutes to think about what truly matters. Ask yourself, what are the most important things I can accomplish today? Not 20 things. Not an endless list that guarantees frustration. Just a few meaningful actions that move your life forward. When you know your priorities, it's much harder for distractions to steal your attention. Your body deserves attention just as much as your mind. Even a short walk, a few stretches, or a simple workout sends a powerful message to yourself, my health matters. You don't have to become an athlete in one day. You simply have to show respect for the body that carries you through life. Energy is one of your greatest assets. And every healthy choice increases your ability to pursue your goals. Then feed your mind with something valuable. Read a few pages from a good book. Listen to ideas that challenge you to grow. Learn a skill that expands your possibilities. Never underestimate what happens when you invest in your mind every single day. Knowledge compounds just like money. A little learning today becomes wisdom tomorrow, and wisdom has a remarkable way of opening doors that talent alone cannot. As your day unfolds, protect your attention. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you'll ever possess. Wherever your attention goes, your life follows. If it's constantly divided among distractions, don't be surprised when your progress feels slow. But when you give your full focus to one meaningful task at a time, you'll accomplish far more than you ever imagined possible. There will be moments when you don't feel like continuing. Every worthwhile routine eventually reaches a point where enthusiasm fades. That's where character takes over. Anyone can work when they feel inspired. The winners are the people who keep going when the excitement disappears. They understand that discipline isn't a punishment. It's a gift they give to their future selves. Don't overlook the importance of small victories. Every completed task sends a quiet message to your mind that says, I finish what I start. That message builds confidence one action at a time. You don't become confident by wishing for confidence. You become confident by collecting evidence that you can depend on yourself. Every promise you keep strengthens that belief. And remember, your routine doesn't have to be perfect. Some days will go exactly as planned. Other days will surprise you with challenges you never expected. That's life. The goal isn't to follow a flawless schedule every single day. The goal is to return to your routine as quickly as possible whenever life interrupts it. Consistency isn't about never falling off track. It's about refusing to stay off track. By the end of the day, you'll begin to notice something remarkable. You'll feel less overwhelmed because you've been intentional. You'll feel more productive because you've focused on what matters most. Most importantly, you'll begin trusting yourself again. Every disciplined day becomes proof that you're capable of creating a disciplined life. This is how momentum is born. It doesn't arrive all at once. It begins with one completed task, followed by another, then another. Small victories stack together until they become habits. Habits become character. Character shapes destiny. That's why you should never underestimate what one well-planned day can accomplish. As we move forward, remember that routines are not chains that limit your freedom. They are the structure that protects your dreams from being replaced by distractions. Every intentional action you repeat today lays another brick in the foundation of the life you're determined to build. Master your daily routine, and your future will begin to master itself. By now, you've made an important decision. You've accepted that one day has the power to change the direction of your life. You've begun removing the habits that quietly steal your potential, and you've started building a routine that gives every hour a purpose. But there's one obstacle that still stands between where you are and where you want to be. It's not a lack of talent. It's not a lack of opportunity. More often than not, it's the habit of waiting. People wait for motivation. They wait for confidence. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect set of circumstances. They believe that one day they'll wake up feeling inspired enough to finally begin. But life doesn't usually work that way. If you study people who accomplish extraordinary things, you'll notice something interesting. They don't act because they always feel motivated. They act because they've learned that motivation often follows action, not the other way around. Think about how many great ideas never become reality. A person dreams of starting a business but spends years thinking instead of doing. Someone wants to get healthier but keeps promising that next Monday will be different. Another person dreams of writing a book, learning a skill, changing careers, or rebuilding relationships. But the first step never comes because they're waiting to feel ready. Here's a truth that can change everything. You will almost never feel completely ready. Readiness is often an illusion. There will always be unanswered questions. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be risks. If certainty were required before taking action, very few meaningful achievements would ever happen. Fear has a clever way of disguising itself as preparation. It tells you that you need just a little more research, a little more planning, a little more time. Planning certainly has its place, but eventually planning must give way to doing. Otherwise, preparation becomes another form of procrastination. Imagine standing at the edge of a swimming pool on a hot day. You can spend an hour thinking about the temperature of the water. You can ask everyone else how it feels. You can imagine every possible experience, but you'll never actually know until you step in. Life works exactly the same way. Some lessons can only be learned through action. Every successful person has experienced moments of uncertainty. The difference is that they refused to let uncertainty become an excuse for standing still. They understood that progress belongs to people who are willing to move forward even when the path isn't perfectly clear. One small step creates information that endless thinking never can. Don't make the mistake of believing that every action has to be massive. Sometimes the most important action is also the smallest. Make the phone call you've been avoiding. Read 10 pages instead of none. Spend 30 focused minutes on the project you've delayed for weeks. Have the difficult conversation you've been postponing. Take the walk. Write the first paragraph. Save the first dollar. Small actions may seem insignificant in the moment, but they create momentum. And momentum has a remarkable way of making difficult things easier. The first step is always the hardest because you're overcoming resistance. Your mind naturally wants comfort. It prefers familiar routines, even when those routines produce disappointing results. That's why action feels uncomfortable at first. You're breaking an old pattern and creating a new one. Don't mistake discomfort for failure. In many cases, discomfort is simply evidence that you're growing. You'll also discover something remarkable once you begin. Confidence starts showing up, not because someone handed it to you, but because you earned it. Every completed action tells your mind, I can do difficult things. That belief becomes stronger every single time you follow through. Confidence isn't something you find before you act. It's something you build because you acted. Of course, not every action will produce immediate success. Some efforts will fall short. Some plans will need adjustment. Some mistakes will teach lessons you didn't expect to learn. That's perfectly normal. Failure isn't the opposite of progress. Failure is often part of progress. Every mistake contains information if you're willing to learn from it. The only true failure is refusing to move at all. Remember, your future isn't determined by the intentions you carry in your mind. It's determined by the actions you consistently take with your hands, your feet, your voice, and your time. Dreams remain dreams until action gives them life. Goals remain wishes until effort turns them into reality. So before this day comes to an end, ask yourself one simple question. What is the next action I know I should take? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Then do it before your excuses have time to negotiate with your commitment. Don't wait for the perfect feeling. Create the feeling by taking the first step. As you continue building this one-day plan for a better life, remember that every meaningful achievement is built the same way. One decision followed by one action, repeated again and again. The distance between where you are and where you want to be is crossed not by wishing, but by moving. Action turns possibility into reality. So move before your doubts do. At this point, you've already discovered something powerful. One intentional day can begin changing the direction of your life. You've started letting go of habits that weaken your future. You've built a routine that keeps you moving forward, and you've learned that action is far more valuable than waiting for the perfect moment. Now we come to the principle that holds all of those ideas together. Without it, every good intention eventually fades. With it, ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. That principle is self-discipline. When people hear the word discipline, many imagine restrictions, sacrifice, or giving up everything they enjoy. But discipline isn't about making your life smaller. It's about making your future bigger. It isn't something that takes freedom away from you. It's what gives you freedom in the first place. The ability to control yourself is one of the greatest forms of power you'll ever possess. If you can't govern your own choices, someone else or something else will think about the areas where people struggle the most. They know what they should do. They know they should exercise, learn, save money, read more, spend less time distracted, and invest more time in meaningful work. The problem is rarely a lack of knowledge. The problem is the gap between knowing and doing. Self-discipline is the bridge that closes that gap. Every day your mind presents you with two voices. One voice looks for comfort. It says, sleep a little longer, skip today's work. You deserve a break. Start tomorrow. The other voice quietly reminds you of the life you're trying to build. It says, keep your promise. Finish what you started. Stay focused. One more step. Both voices speak every day. The one that grows stronger is the one you choose to listen to most often. Here's what many people fail to realize. Every decision you make is shaping your identity. You're not just deciding whether to complete a task. You're deciding what kind of person you're becoming. When you keep your word to yourself, you're building the identity of someone who can be trusted. When you repeatedly ignore your commitments, you're teaching yourself that your own promises don't matter. That lesson affects every area of your life. That's why small acts of discipline are never truly small. Waking up when you plan to wake up matters. Finishing the work you said you'd finish matters. Reading those extra pages matters. Turning off distractions when no one is watching matters. Each of these actions sends a powerful message to your subconscious. I am becoming someone who follows through. People often admire successful individuals because of the results they see, but they rarely see the countless disciplined choices that created those results. They see the harvest without appreciating the seasons of planting, watering, and waiting. Success always has a price, but so does failure. The difference is that the price of discipline is paid in small daily installments, while the price of regret arrives all at once. Imagine two people standing side by side today. Their lives look almost identical. One chooses to improve just 1% every day. The other chooses comfort every day. After a week, the difference is barely noticeable. After a month, it still seems small. But after a year, their lives begin moving in completely different directions. Why? Because discipline compounds. Just like interest in a bank account, small investments made consistently create remarkable returns over time. There will be days when discipline feels difficult. You'll be tired. You'll be discouraged. You'll question whether your effort is making any difference. Those are the days that matter most. Anyone can stay committed when everything is easy. Character is revealed when things become uncomfortable. Those moments test whether you're living by your feelings or by your values. Remember this. Feelings are temporary, but decisions have lasting consequences. If you allow your emotions to control your actions, your progress will rise and fall with your mood. But when your principles guide your actions, you'll continue moving forward, regardless of how you feel. That's what separates lasting success from temporary enthusiasm. Don't expect perfection from yourself. Even disciplined people have difficult days. They make mistakes. They miss opportunities. The difference is they don't let one bad decision become an excuse for an entire week of poor choices. They recover quickly. They return to their standards. They understand that consistency isn't about never failing. It's about never quitting. One of the greatest rewards of self-discipline is the confidence it creates. Confidence isn't built by positive thinking alone. It grows when you repeatedly prove to yourself that you can do what you said you would do. Every disciplined choice becomes another brick in the foundation of self-respect. And once you respect yourself, you'll naturally begin raising your standards in every area of life. So as this day continues, don't focus on doing something spectacular. Focus on doing what you know is right, even when it's inconvenient. Keep the promise you made this morning. Finish the task you committed to. Choose progress over comfort one more time. Because every disciplined decision is quietly shaping the person you'll become tomorrow. Never forget this. Your future is not created by occasional moments of greatness. It's built by the ordinary choices you make when nobody is watching. Master yourself for one day, and you'll discover you have the strength to master the next. Then another, and another. Before long, what once required effort becomes part of who you are. The life you want begins the moment discipline becomes stronger than excuses. We've traveled through an entire day together. We began by recognizing that one ordinary day has the power to change the direction of an entire life. We identified the habits that quietly steal our potential and made the decision to leave them behind. We built a simple routine that gives purpose to our hours instead of letting distractions decide our future. We learned that action must come before motivation, and that self-discipline is the force that keeps us moving long after excitement fades. Now, as this day comes to an end, there's one final step that many people overlook. yet it may be one of the most important of all. Before you close your eyes tonight, take a few moments to look back on your day, not to criticize yourself, not to replay every mistake, not to convince yourself that you're not good enough. Instead, reflect with honesty and with purpose. Ask yourself a few simple questions. What did I do well today? Where did I keep my promises? Where did I allow distractions to take over? What lesson can I carry into tomorrow? Reflection is one of the greatest teachers you'll ever have. Experience alone doesn't make you wiser. Plenty of people repeat the same mistakes for years because they never stop long enough to learn from them. Wisdom comes when experience is combined with thoughtful reflection. Every evening gives you an opportunity to become a little wiser than you were that morning. Many people are so busy chasing tomorrow that they never pause to appreciate today's progress. Don't make that mistake. Celebrate the victories that matter, even if they seem small. Maybe you finally completed a task you've been avoiding. Maybe you stayed focused for an extra hour. Maybe you chose patience instead of frustration. Maybe you kept one promise to yourself that you've broken many times before. Those moments deserve recognition because they're evidence that you're becoming someone new. At the same time, don't be afraid to admit where you fell short. Honest evaluation is not the same as self-criticism. There's a tremendous difference. Self-criticism tears you down. Honest evaluation builds you up because it points you toward improvement. If something didn't go well today, don't hide from it. Learn from it. Every mistake contains a lesson that can make tomorrow better. If you're willing to receive it, then practice something that successful people understand deeply: gratitude. Gratitude has an incredible way of changing your perspective. Instead of focusing only on what's missing, it reminds you of what's already been given. Be thankful for another day to learn. Be thankful for the strength to keep going. Be thankful for the opportunities that are still ahead of you. Gratitude doesn't make you complacent. It makes you stronger because it replaces bitterness with appreciation and fear with hope. As the day comes to a close, prepare for tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. A few minutes of planning tonight can save hours of confusion in the morning. Decide what your most important task will be. Lay out the path before you begin walking it. Successful days rarely happen by accident. They are usually the result of intentional preparation. Remember, you're not trying to create a perfect life overnight. Perfection is an impossible standard that often keeps people from making progress. Progress is what matters. If today was just 1% better than yesterday, then you've already won something valuable. Those small improvements don't stay small forever. They accumulate. They grow. They compound until one day you look back and realize you've become a completely different person. Imagine repeating this process day after day. Every morning begins with purpose. Every afternoon is guided by action. Every evening ends with reflection and preparation. What do you think happens after 30 days, after 6 months, after a year? Your confidence grows because you've kept your word. Your habits improve because you've practiced them consistently. Your character becomes stronger because you've chosen discipline over convenience again and again. People often search for life-changing moments, expecting everything to transform in a single dramatic event. But lasting success usually arrives much more quietly. It shows up in ordinary mornings when you choose to get up instead of giving in. It appears in ordinary afternoons when you stay focused instead of becoming distracted. It finishes in ordinary evenings when you reflect, learn, and prepare for another opportunity. Extraordinary lives are built from ordinary days lived with extraordinary intention. So don't underestimate what you've accomplished today. If you've made better decisions than you made yesterday, you've already started changing your future. If you've learned one new lesson, replaced one poor habit, completed one meaningful task, or kept one important promise to yourself, then today has not been ordinary at all. It has become the foundation upon which tomorrow can stand. When you wake up tomorrow, don't start from zero. Start from the progress you created today. Carry the lessons forward. Protect the habits you've begun to build. Continue taking action even when it feels difficult. Keep strengthening your discipline. Then at the end of tomorrow, reflect again. Repeat the process. That's how great lives are built. Not in one miraculous leap, but through one intentional day followed by another. Never forget this. Your future is not waiting somewhere in the distance. It is being created by the choices you make today. Live this day well, and the next one becomes easier. Live enough days with purpose, and one day you'll look back with gratitude, realizing that the life you once dreamed about was built one faithful day at a time. Win today, repeat tomorrow, and your life will never be the same.